Hey, this is Rich over at TVP Live with another quick tips tutorials brought to you by Photoshop Elements Custom Tutorials Group. And let's jump right into today's poster who wants to know how to create a series of dots and have it a continuous line like this. So basically, in other programs, you'd be able to use transform by right-clicking and choosing duplicate over and over and over at a certain spot, so it would just automatically make these. But in Elements, transform is not that. It's more of a distort portion. And also up here, if you try to right-click and hit duplicate layer, it sure does duplicate and makes a new layer, but guess what? It's right on top of the old layer. So you can do that and move it over and make more dots. Now let's start from scratch here. And how do we make the dots in the first place and make them perfectly spaced? What we want to do is view a grid. So we go to view, hit grid, and right now it's set to main lines on 1 inch apart. And then you have subdivisions. You can go over to Edit, come down to Preferences, and come down to Guides and Grid. And right here it'll tell you where the grid is every 1 inch with 8 subdivisions. And that's what created this. You can change this if you want, but we'll leave it as it is right now. And then you want it to snap to the tool. So you come up to View, come down to Snap to, and then choose Grid. That will allow anything you draw to snap to any of these little lines. I'm going to zoom in a little bit. And so what you want to do is grab the elliptical tool. I'm going to create a new layer up here first. Grab the elliptical tool and then come start at one of the major corners here. And I'm just going to go ahead and draw. And you can make a vertical oval or a horizontal one or a perfect circle like this. I'm going to go ahead and let it snap to there and snap to here. And there we have a nice circle. Let's go ahead and fill it in with a color. Here's black, and we'll just go ahead and leave it at black. You can choose whatever color you want. Whatever you see there is what it's going to turn into. Hit OK. Then we grab the paint bucket, and then you just tap right in the middle, and there's our first circle. Now, how do we duplicate it? Well, you can come up here, you can right-click and hit Duplicate Layer, but remember, it's going to make a copy right on top of the other one. So if I left-click and drag it, we can all come over here, drag it over here, and snap it to the next major 1 inch line. Another way to do it, which is a lot easier, is to just hold the Alt key, which is the key just to the left and right of the space bar, and then left click it and just drag a new one, and you can put it anywhere you want. I'll go ahead and snap it right there and continue doing that. Just holding the Alt down and grabbing each one and snapping it. Now another way you could do this is once you create your first circle, you can hold the Alt and make the second, and maybe make the third, and then you could just grab all 3 of these. Hold the Alt down, and then you're doing 3 at a time. Hold the Alt down, and with the left mouse button, you do 3 at a time. Makes it a lot easier to make a bunch of them. Now, let's say I decided that I wanted these to be a lot smaller. I can grab that whole row, and then grab the corner here, the bottom right corner, and since we have snap to grid, as we get smaller, we can go like this, and then snap it to that grid right there. Now I can take all those, hold the Alt, come down to the first one, and then drag a whole new one like this. And then I'll just nudge it over using the left mouse arrow, and that's all there is to it. Now you see it made a bunch of layers up here. You can always left click, draw a rectangle around all of these, and you see it highlighted. Right click, and you come down to merge layers. When I left click on that, it makes all those into one image. I'll do the same thing with this up here. And I'll right click and I'll hit merge layers. Now we got 2 separate sets. Let's go ahead and turn off the grid so we can see them like this without the grid. And there you have your lines of dots that are all in a row. Now what if we want them vertically all of a sudden? We can always take this one and click on the little circle at the bottom, come down here to angle, and I can say 90 degrees. I'll type in 90, and there it is. We just made them into a vertical row. And that's all there is to it for this tutorial. Hey, don't forget to like and subscribe. This is Rich calling it quits, saying over and out.